The ad said $23 an hour, night shift, minimal experience required, security guard position at a historic correctional facility in Moundsville, West Virginia. You applied on a Monday, you started on a Wednesday, you quit on a Friday, 54 hours, 3 nights, and the only thing between you and whatever lives inside those walls was a flashlight, a radio that worked maybe 60% of the time, and a thermos of coffee that went cold before midnight on the very first night. Here's what the job listing didn't mention. The West Virginia Penitentiary held over 1,000 prisoners at its peak. It was built in 1866. In the 94 years it operated, 94 men were executed within its walls. 36 of them were executed in a single electric chair that still sits in the basement. The chair is still plugged in. Nobody knows why. The maintenance team stopped asking questions about it years ago. So did you, after the first night. This is what happened in those 54 hours. And this is why you will never work nights again. Level 1, Night 1. Your supervisor's name was Dale. He was 58 years old, had worked the day shift for 11 years, and spent exactly 4 minutes giving you the tour. 4 minutes. For 250,000 square feet of prison. He handed you a radio, a flashlight, and a laminated map that was last updated in 1987. He showed you the guard station at the front entrance, the break room with the busted microwave, and the door to cell block north. He did not open that door. Just stay out of north, he said. Plumbing issues. Floor is not safe. He clocked out at 6 p.m. By 6:15, you were completely alone in the second most haunted building in the United States. The first hour was fine. You did your rounds. Flashlight on. Boots echoing on concrete. The prison smells like rust and damp stone and something you can't name. Something old. Something that got into the walls over 94 years and never left. The cells are still intact. Every one of them. Some still have belongings inside. A cup, a Bible, a photograph taped to the wall. Things left behind by men who left in boxes. You did your rounds. Cell block east. Cell block south. The cafeteria. The infirmary. You wrote your check-in time in the logbook every 30 minutes. 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m., midnight. At 12:47 a.m., you heard footsteps on the floor above you. Slow, deliberate, moving from one end of the block to the other. You radioed Dale. He didn't answer for 11 minutes. When he did, he said, "Old buildings settle. You'll get used to it." You didn't get used to it. You wrote footsteps, upper level, no source found, in the logbook. You were the first guard in 3 years to write anything in that logbook at all. Level 2, Night 2. You came prepared. Headlamp, extra batteries, a second flashlight, a notebook of your own, not the official logbook, but a personal one, because you'd already decided that what you were experiencing needed to be written down somewhere that wouldn't disappear. 6 p.m. Dale gone by, 6:10. 8:30 p.m., the lights in cell block east flickered 3 times and went out. Not unusual in an old building. You know this. You told yourself this. You reset the breaker. Lights came back on. 9:47 p.m., you smelled cigarette smoke in the infirmary. The building has been non-smoking since 1995. Nobody has worked in that infirmary since the prison closed in 1995. The smell was fresh. Not old smoke soaked into walls. Fresh smoke. Like someone had just stubbed out a cigarette 30 seconds before you walked in. You searched the infirmary, every room, every closet. Empty. 11:14 p.m. Your radio produced 40 seconds of static, and then, clearly, without question, in a voice that was not mechanical interference and was not your imagination, said a name. Not your name. A man's name. 2 syllables. Said once, quietly, like someone checking if you were listening. You wrote it down in your personal notebook. You looked it up the next morning. The name belonged to a prisoner who died in Cell Block North in 1929. Cause of death listed as undetermined. You went back for night 3. You shouldn't have. Everyone who hears this story asks the same question. Why did you go back after night 2? And the honest answer is the one that keeps you humble. Because in the daylight, on a Thursday morning with coffee in your hand and the sun coming through the window, you convinced yourself you'd imagined it. You hadn't. Level 3. Night 3. Night 3 started differently. The front entrance door wouldn't close behind you. Not jammed, not broken, just resistant. Like something on the other side was holding it. You forced it shut. It opened again. You forced it again. It stayed. You stood in the entrance hall for a moment listening. The prison was different on night 3. You can't explain how you knew. The building was the same. The cells were the same. The concrete and the rust smell and the cold stone were all the same. But something knew you were coming back. At 10:30 p.m., you did the unthinkable. You opened the door to Cell Block North. You don't know why. You will never fully explain why. It was like the decision was already made before you made it. Like your feet were moving and your brain was 3 seconds behind. Cell Block North had 64 cells, 4 tiers, an open center atrium with iron railings going straight up. You walked in with your flashlight. At the far end of the ground level, cell 14, the door was open. Every other cell in the block was shut. Cell 14 was open. You walked toward it. You were 6 feet away when the temperature dropped so suddenly and so completely that your breath came out as vapor, and your flashlight, fresh batteries, tested before your shift, went out. Complete darkness. And then, from inside cell 14, 3 feet from your face, someone knocked 3 times. From inside the cell. From the inside. You were outside the building in under 40 seconds. You left your flashlight. You left your radio. You left your thermos. You did not stop moving until you reached your car. Level 4, the truth. You called Dale at 11 p.m. He picked up on the second ring. You told him everything. Cell Block North. Cell 14. The temperature drop. The 3 knocks. There was a long pause. And then Dale said quietly, "Which cell did you say?" You said, 14. Another pause. "Don't come back," he said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "It was probably nothing." Just, "Don't come back." You asked him why. He told you that every security guard who has worked night 3 at this facility in the last 14 years has reported something in cell 14. Every single one of them quit. You asked him what was in cell 14. He said, "We don't know. But the electric chair in the basement used to face that direction." You quit over the phone. You never collected your last paycheck. Some things aren't worth $23 an hour. Some doors are closed for a reason. And some doors, even when everything in you says don't, you open anyway. That's the part that still scares you. Not what was inside cell 14, but the fact that you walked toward it.